Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bitch Talk, starring Dylan and not me, 'cause I'm cool. I'm not bitch.
Welcome to Alpha and the Bitch. I'm the
Yeah, I'm the
Alpha,
alpha. I'm the alpha. I said it first.
double Alpha, then. The show where we both talk over each other, never asking
No,
questions.
we don't. No. Konnan. Today we're talking about a man who kills his own enemies and feels the lamentation of their women. He has beaten Tulsa Doom. He is from the Viking tribes of the woods. That's, of course, we were talking about Konnan the Barbarian. Welcome, Dylan. He worships the old gods and has a deep-voiced Asian friend that he met on the plains.
And all the villains are black.
All the villains are black, but they have blue eyes, which makes them aliens, according to the director. By the way, if you ever want to live a fucking life of a hero, listen to the director's commentary of Konnan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger and John Milius, because I think they made a comedy.
John Milius is fucking nuts, but it's like
John Milius, by the way, is the basis of Walter from The Big Lebowski. Also, my coffee is out of reach, and that is being corrected now. Dylan, vamp.
Well, I'll just tell you a little bit about John Milius. There's a John Milius documentary. He's one of the people I watched a documentary on, or didn't know anything about the man, but he went to school with Stanley Kubrick and George Lucas and Spielberg.
Didn't go to school with Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick is much older. He went to school with Francis Ford Coppola. Is the bearded asshole is who you're thinking of. You were close with Kubrick. Wrong. Bearded asshole.
So there was a bunch of people that obviously are like on Mount Crushmore as far as 70s directors that he went to school with.
John and I. Oh, God.
There you go. But
Dylan and I are definitely two of them.
By his own words, too right-wing for this lib cuck town. But, like, people still like him. It's a very interesting documentary because it's like, oh, this is how people treated...
Speaking of acting agents, I have my acting agent. You keep talking.
You muted now? Muted? Sweet. But it's very interesting to watch how people talk about crazy people, or used to talk about crazy people in the 1970s and 80s, where it's like, this is just kind of a kooky guy who does some kooky things. It's not affecting the world at large anyway. Anyway, another stupid rant because me and John watched too many documentaries. But this week, we are talking about the Mexican Hulk Hogan. Is he the Mexican Hulk Hogan? Who knows? Konnan. One of the greatest stories of how a person gets into professional wrestling of all time is Konnan. John, you're still on mute.
I know I am. Not only is he the Mexican Hulk Hogan, Hulk Hogan should now be the American Konnan for how much better Konnan's life has become. First of all, started wrestling by my favorite type of wrestler, by the way, is the wrestler who does not like wrestling, got into it because a guy asked them to and/or were bodybuilder, and then becomes the most passionate person about wrestling. So Konnan, who, by the way, was born Carlos Santiago Espada Mois in 1964 in Cuba. What? Relocated to South Florida. Was formerly adopted by his stepfather, who changed his name to Charles Ashenoff. And oh boy, was that a prophetic name, because let me tell you, he likes to jack off. That's Charles Ashenoff. He went on to be a bodybuilder and a boxer because it was the 80s. Oh boy, did he live in San Diego and join the Navy? Yes, he did. He was a boxer. I assume was a very bad soldier and didn't listen to anyone. Was deployed to the Middle East in 1983. You know what happens in the 80s? Konnan does cocaine on a naval ship. Then he heads on over to
Did you know what
Persian
he did?
Gulf.
Do you know what he did in 1983, though, when he went to the Middle East?
He was deployed to Beirut after the U.S. Embassy bombing. And I believe
what else?
I believe it was bombed in October.
Yeah, and you know what he did?
He fucking said, I'm not in stand-up comedy, so bombing doesn't hurt me. And everyone was like, what are you actually talking about?
That's good stuff.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
He met a little man named Bin Laden, and he taught him some things. To tell you that.
He met a man named Osama bin Laden. And he was like, "Here's the key to success. Just keep trying." Also, what if
he was like, "I'm going to call mine Al Qaeda," and then Konnan was like, "Sweet, I'm going to call mine the Filthy Animals."
Yeah. They have the same goal, by the way, which is total domination of the United States, and also part of
Konnan just tried to do it
just
through
very different religions.
Yeah.
Of course, Osama bin Laden is trying to establish, I believe, a Caliphate. Can't remember what the word is, and control magical powers through radical Islam. or something. By the way, all that information was stuff that a guy in a bus station told me in 2014 about what Osama bin Laden's plans really were, and I've always quietly just believed that. For example, this man who was missing all these teeth, none of the top teeth. What a fucking weirdo. Explained to me that Osama bin Laden believes in a type of radical Islam, which means he gets super magical powers and can lift that meteor in Saudi Arabia and crush his enemies. And I've always been like, I don't think this guy's telling the truth, but I believe this now because it makes the world so much more fun. And Konnan believes the same thing. By the way, I pronounce Konnan the wrestler the same as Conan O'Brien.
I know, I've learned that.
Or Konnan WCW.
I will say this: if they switched roles just once, that would have been a fun Saturday.
Oh my God! What a great show that would be! Welcome to late night with Konnan from the NWO. Viva la raza!
Late night with K-Dog.
Oh my God! So much just weed smoking.
Olale! And then everyone yells it back. Now that's a fucking talk show, not some fucking
Andy Richter's
bitch-ass redhead coming out and
Pete.
be like, "Ooh, I can read." Blah,
Yeah,
blah,
I went
blah."
to Harvard and also I'm fun, kind of, but too rich.
Here's how you do steroids. Here's how you fuck.
Yeah.
Here's how you smoke weed. Shut the fuck up.
All
You
right,
have guests on. He has guests on, but then he
does
only
not know who
talks,
they-
and
of
then they
course,
sit
of
there
course.
quietly, and then he goes, "Get out of here, Tom Hanks," and then another, and then usually second segment they'd have a attractive actress in, where he rates her body parts, then loudly talks about women he's had sex with that were more attractive than them, which is a real good move, and then she also leaves in silence. Stand-up comedian comes on. He also does what he thinks their act would be. Perfect 1 hour and a half show.
What I really like about the idea of stand-up comedy and wrestling being almost the same is I've worked with the Conan equivalent
Me?
in stand-up comedy, which is the guy that he was so big in a small market, like he was the biggest comedian in Sweden or whatever the fuck.
Oh,
Comes
yes.
to a slightly bigger
Magnus.
market. Exactly. Comes to a slightly bigger market, is super nice, helps a bunch of people like get through, but at the same time it's kind of like, I don't know, whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, just keep doing it because he's bored and fun. Virginie Fortin is also like that. Very big in Quebec.
Virginie Fortin is very much like that.
Very,
a lot
very,
of times.
very funny, very, very funny comedian. And she just is like, I'm going to do this in English because, I don't know, I got a ton of money. It was like her doing Edinburgh, and everyone's like, why did you do that? And then her being too polite to be like, I don't know how to say this politely, but like, if I wanted you dead, your parents wouldn't even question it. That's how much money I have.
Yeah. I mean,
I'll just bury you in singles, baby.
we're going to talk about a very funny anecdote that involves her off mic because I'm not going to tell it on mic, but off mic, so funny. So funny.
Maybe we should call our Patreon extra where we talk about whatever off mic.
Oh.
What's the most
edgy.
shitty podcast extra name?
After mic. Call it after mic.
mic.
Oh, fuck. After mic sounds awful. Welcome to Wrestler Review After mic.
Ooh. We're just going to talk about salads we had. Anyway, did you know this? You know this? Take that, first of all. Take that, John.
I want to sit on that. I want to sit on it.
Yeah, that's what the K-Dog standed for in Konnan was kale. Kale dog.
How
We're
did
back on track, baby.
I want you to tell me how he got into wrestling. I want you to tell me because I know. And it's just, he meets a man named John Roberts, which already sounds like a made-up name. It's so good. It's so fucking good. Go ahead.
He beat the shit out of some guy in a street fight after a basketball game in San Diego. A man showed up. This is my favorite part. The man had a title on him and was like, I'm a championship wrestler. You look like a championship wrestler. Let's get you some fucking matches, bro. And then Konnan was like, yes, okay. Followed this crazy person to a second location, and it made him a millionaire. When else has this happened in the world?
If you ever really think about it, there are corporate jobs, and then there are the kind of jobs that we're in, which I like to call carnival show business jobs, which is how do you get that job? And it's like, basically you have to find a room or a guy. And that guy will take you to the room, or the room will be like, in this room you can perform, and it'll be filled with people that you would be like, oh my God, all these pornographers seem to live with their parents and smoke. And you'd be like, those are comedians. Those people are actually your betters and colleagues. You're like, one of them is full on just wearing different shoes, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't know it. It's like, he does not know it. He stole both of those individual shoes. Now, Learn the art. Learn the art. And bear in mind, most of these people, much later on during a pandemic, will very much be against the vaccine, and they
Oh
will
yeah.
very much still be in your social media.
Oh yeah.
Enjoy it.
This is my favorite thing about how Konnan gets into wrestling is it's almost exactly like if someone's car was broken on the side of the road, so you pulled over to help them fix it, you fixed it, and then a guy out of the mist showed up who was dressed as a mechanic and said, "You seem like a pretty fucking good mechanic. I'm a mechanic too. I'll take you to this place
The
where
only
we're all
problem
mechanics."
is that once he gets to the actual place with the real mechanics, they're like, "What are you doing with that guy who fucks cars?" And he's like, "Oh shit."
No, but then they'd be like, "We'll give you a job interview anyway. Also, you're a mechanic now." Like that's how it worked out because they
Yeah, that is
basically
true.
see
Actually,
him.
they were like, "Why are you with that weirdo?" And he's like, "Do I go?" And they're like, "No, no, 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 no. We
No,
just want
you're
to know why you're with that
jacked
weirdo."
as fucking hell.
Yeah, you're hot. Come on.
Because it's like this is also where does he get into wrestling exactly? Is it in Mexico?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was in Mexico. He's in Tijuana, and this is the golden thing about the '80s. No emails yet. You just have to be an insane person who shows up, asks for a job. He shows up, asks for a job. He's jacked as hell. That's the other thing about Konnan that we don't really think about is the man's swole and like '90s swole. And the other thing that's brilliant about, I mean, this is just genetics, but he does a bunch of steroids. But some people do steroids and they look like uncomfortably big.
No, he
Konnan just looks
leaned
like
out. It
great.
was very smart. What I think it was Conan
He
was
looks like an
definitely.
old school strongman where it's all chest.
Here's
and
what I
fucking
what here's what I can explain what it is I bet you what
Explain
it
it.
was he's doing steroids and going to the gym, but he was also smoking mad weed, so I guarantee he's hitting the carbs.
Oh
So
no,
what
he didn't
just,
start smoking weed until his hip surgery, apparently in like the late 2000s. And you can, as Christopher Hobson
really?
says in the research, you can tell when he starts smoking weed.
Oh, I thought he was always on the
So Konnan, it's a weird thing because there definitely was a pivot point where and this is going to sound silly because, and I mean, I don't even think we should say the guy's name anymore because literally my social media feed's full of it. And I feel like it's only because like of our joint internet feeds that we see this man's name a lot. But like, I listened to an MLW podcast of his in like the early 2000s or early 2010s. There was a pivot point for him where he literally may have been able to become like the Latin Joe Rogan because he's so broy and so funny. Like listening to him was a lot like listening to like Patrice O'Neill, where it's like
Yeah,
this guy's saying
he was-
crazy shit, but it's like he's so likable that I'm like, that's Konnan. Like, who cares?
What it is he's an incredibly charming, well-spoken moron. That's what's
Yeah.
really funny about him.
He's just a beef.
very-
He's a meathead, but
he's
it's
an-
like there's
Exactly.
no-
He's an incredibly intelligent dumb guy. No one talks about this,
Yeah.
but especially in the bro world, there is the like, that guy would have been super smart. He just didn't read any books. So that same level of intellect has been applied to trying to fuck women, types of cars, and things to yell at people when you drive by them. Like it's that same level of incredible charm, so fun, so interesting. And then you're just like, but he has no base of knowledge, but he has the confidence as if he does have base of knowledge. So like Konnan, it feels like to Konnan, his opinions are facts. So like that's why Konnan will say crazy
That's very
shit.
funny. His opinions are well, and this is the other thing about Konnan. He's totally the type of guy who will be like, "Here's how you pick up girls," not realizing like he himself is jacked and has a lot of money. So it's like whatever you say after that,
And was on TV in the 90s. Like the other thing
whatever
is
you
it's
say
like,
after that, you're like you're already
you want to
already
know how
ahead
you
of the
pick up
fucking game.
girls if you want. This is Conan's advice for picking up girls. You want to pick up girls? Become friends with Kevin Nash in 1997. That's basically his actual advice for picking up women. You want to pick up women? Be on the most watched television show on cable in the late 90s for 2 years. That's what I did. That's like you understand like
Yeah.
people because of the WWE's weird way of counting it and how they really discount it, WCW beat the shit out of the WWF for 2 years and got like a 5 share, which means 5% of the televisions in America were watching Nitro at the time. Do you like actual thing? I think that's what that metric is, and that's so many people.
And it's like looking back on Nitro, if you watch an old Nitro, it's like weirdly like this is gonna sound silly, but some of it's like perfect wrestling. And what I mean by that is it's a bit edgy, so it's not boring, but also it's not like straight up WWE Attitude Era, we're gonna fucking light a girl on fire because she tried to marry the same sex.
No,
And
there is a post NWA debuts and is part of it, and they are the perfect wrestling show, which was incredibly.
97 is what hipsters
Oh my
like. Yeah, 97
God,
is
it's so
Bret Hart,
good.
Bret Hart WWF is great. Bret Hart had to leave because you can only, you know what I mean? Bret Hart would just been in the right to censor if he would have stayed, essentially.
It would have just been. He would have been in the corporation, is what it would have been. It would never have worked. Actually, it never would have worked.
Yeah, because he's not. Like we've talked about this a million times, but Bret Hart is the perfect NWA champion. He just was in the
Yeah,
WWF.
exactly. Like Bret Hart is who they wanted Ric Flair to be. Like Ric Flair is still too much personality and had too many questions and wanted. Like Ric Flair occasionally wanted to go home. Like it was once every 3 years, but Bret Hart, if you literally be like, Bret, you don't ever need to go to your house, and he's like, that's great, good. I don't even change into your ring gear, and he's like, that's even better. I'll burn my clothes.
Hey, how about this? Instead of the belt, can I just cheat on my wife? I mean, you can have the belt too.
No,
that's awesome.
I'd really just rather cheat on my wife. Like to be clear, the main thing I want to do is cheat. And they were like, no, we get it. No matter what, you can cheat on your wife. He's like, as long as that's happening. As long as that's happening.
I just cannot stress enough how much I want to cheat on my wife. Anyway, Konnan is taken on as like this, like they have huge expectations of him because he is trained by Rey Mysterio Sr., Super Astro, Negro Casas, and Eddie Guerrero.
Whoa!
What would you say?
N-word Casas.
Okay. He also used to glean information from old shooters by bringing beers and getting them drunk. That's a really funny thing. Like, yeah, I brought a guy a six-pack, and he told me to never look a chick in the eyes because then you give them the power.
Imagine what El Santo or Mil Mascara are just drunk. Like the two, like no one has a good thing to say about either of those wrestlers. Imagine they've had 8 beers, and Conan's like,
yeah.
And so what happens when you drop kick? I'll tell you what happens. You win the match, and then you're starring 8 movies in France, and guess what? You fuck whoever your sister brings home. And you're like, what? Do you have a sister? No.
A very important thing about professional wrestling is if you show your cock to a cashier and yours is bigger than theirs, they have to give you all the food for free.
The thing you got to remember about me is I have, in fact, fucked a whale. Me, Harley Race, and that guy John McAfee, we trapped a whale, and I fucked it. Also,
I redid all the book Moby Dick, except for I fucked that whale.
You know the book Moby Dick? I did that. I fucked a whale, but I also fucked it with a wooden stick, meaning I'm Ahab. Also, I am not a wrestler. I am John Roberts, the guy who got Konnan into wrestling. This is also how crazy wrestling is. I guarantee that fan has gone to conventions with a banner that said the guy who got Konnan into wrestling.
Yeah, the guy's nuts. It'd be great if, like, Brock Lesnar guy or Vlad the WWE fan was like, and that's how I found, I don't know, Drew McIntyre or whatever. Anyway, early part of his career.
Let me also ask you this about Vlad, the WWE superfan. What do you why do you think the WWE has delayed his documentary being released?
Because I mean, clearly now, I mean, we can say that you were right. They were leaning down to try and sell. They're clearly leaning down or something because, like, they're literally like just firing absolutely everyone. Oh my God! Like, where else did they do that? There's some fucking was it Genghis Khan who used to do that? Would like make you kill. He would make people like kill. Fuck, who is it? It's a historical figure, but they would make someone kill everyone in their army once they were conquered, and then just kill them at the end. And that seems like WWE's doing with Triple H, where they're like making him. They're literally as we've released this episode, they fired William Regal, they fired Allison Danger. Basically, they fired like everyone in their developmental because they're like, I guess, not happy with how people wrestle.
Yeah, well, what they're not happy with, and I can see this is, wait, so you started NXT. This is how Vince McMahon, I think, views NXT, and we'll get back to Konnan. You started NXT. NXT, they came onto Raw. They didn't work on Raw with our product. They've gone on to form their own company that's now beating us in the demos. Tear it the fuck down. That's what Vince McMahon's perspective is. And Triple H is going, yeah, that wouldn't be happening if you had just been nice to 2 of these guys.
Well, yeah, and it makes sense because it's like, okay, well, it sounds silly, but they why would we have a third brand that's trying to do something that this company's clearly going to do better than us? So just abandon that third brand and make it purely developmental. Like, it makes sense to me where it's like, we're trying to make candy bars. These guys are already better at making candy bars, so let's just stick to pizzas.
Yeah, but what you're doing is you're not including the time where you're not including the time of the fact when NXT was AEW, when NXT was the gold star in
That's
Super
what I mean,
Indie. No, but hang on.
But
all they had to do was maintain that. They basically the way you're presenting it is that they maintained NXT the way they was. AEW came along. AEW's existence affected how NXT was operating. The WWE fundamentally changed how NXT operated, ergo making it not as good of a developmental territory as it had been operating, and are then being like, that's AEW's fault. It's like, no, all of this is the WWE's fault. In the way that and watch me bring this back to Konnan. I guarantee Konnan has a lot of bitterness about how he has never been included in the WWF, or really isn't going to probably be brought into AEW, and that is because he is a bit hard to work with and has some definite opinions, and he's going to do it his way. For example, he is Max Moon in WWF. I know we're jumping around a lot, but we only have an hour.
Like, he's who would you say Conan's like?
He's the weirdest thing.
He has too much value for himself to treat him to base himself and do what they fucking. He would have been in the Mexicools if they brought him into WWE, and he's not going to do that shit.
It's like he's like a
Konnan, bro.
I've seen this so many times. There's just really big comedians in other countries or other markets moving to the big main market, i.e., like the north of England to London, another European country to London, other Canada to LA. All of that. And there's just certain guys that are like, nah, I'm not humbling myself to get that much further ahead. They feel that their worth is a straight transference. And in wrestling, it's like, no, you were really big in Mexico. You're an unproven commodity in the US. Go down. And he sort of does in WCW, but he never is going to be. Then he like gets very over in WCW and then just assumes he's at that level for the rest of time.
Well, he gets a fuckload of money in WCW, and then also is in, which is how you make money in entertainment. He's becomes into the production side of Mexican wrestling.
That's the big thing with him.
So why would you go backwards?
Well, go backwards to get ahead.
I mean, when you have some people, when they have 75 cents, don't want to risk just doing the dollar and going back down to 50 cents. He's good with 75 cents, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I don't think he's good with it. I think he thinks he deserves more, but he's just, this is what I get.
Plus, he got into podcasting. Like, this dude, he pivoted correctly.
I mean, not only did he get into podcasts, he also, in fact, messaged the Wrestler Review to ask the Wrestler Review to follow his podcast, which always will be wild. And I do not.
Yeah, he's got a follow about. Good for him. He's fucking a smart guy. People think Conan's messaging you, and it's just some 20-year-old who he's not paying. Good for him.
Oh, he's definitely let me say this right now about Konnan, and I know this more than anything. He has definitely not paid some people he was supposed to pay. Like 150 million%. That guy has been like, what? No, I don't pay people. Like, and his excuse is I just don't pay people.
But you're jacked. It's 1990. He starts wrestling for 89. He starts wrestling for Stampede Wrestling. That gets him right onto the radar of WCW. He starts working for WCW for a couple minutes.
Hart said to Konnan, because there was no way any of the Hart brothers knew what a person from Latin America was. Like, there's no way.
Let alone San Diego.
Like, I guarantee Stu kept trying to just tell Konnan to take a bath. Like, what's wrong with your complexion? Like, you're gross.
I'm actually from San Diego. Oh, that's crazy. I've been to Argentina. Have you had the Mexican dish? Argentina's in Mexico, right?
Do they have hot dogs there? I heard hot dog is a Mexican dish. Actually, I'm from Cuba, which is in fact not Mexico. Anything that isn't Calgary, I assume, is Mexico. I was just Did you know
I think Stu Hart probably loved him because he saw a guy who did steroids but only did back.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you build a body, just the back.
By the way, if anyone is looking for the craziest pay-per-view of all time, I have found it. It's called Slamboree 1993,
Mm-hmm.
The Legends Reunion. There is a full-on match between Nick Bockwinkel and Dory Funk Jr. in 1993.
Don't they do it in black and white as well?
No, that's in 1994. They do the match.
Okay.
They do Wahoo McDaniel and Dick Slater, I believe. But Dick Slater is on a team with Snooperfly, Jimmy Snuka, and Don Morocco. And Don Morocco looks visibly uncomfortable in the ring. Like, as he's walking to the ring, you can see his face. He's like, fuck, why am I with these guys? And they are, oh my God, it's the best pay-per-view of all time. Because you know what you get more than anything? Johnny Valentine. You get Johnny Valentine doing color commentary for a full match, and it is wild. Let me say that when Konnan and all of them talk about like how difficult it is for any wrestler in the back who's like a Mexican wrestlers in WCW, black wrestlers who are in WCW, the treatment they get. You watch that pay-per-view and you're like, I get it. Like, holy shit. Like, just the way that they're conducting themselves on the microphone, the way they speak to Missy Hyatt, you're like, these old school wrestling legends are literal monsters. That, like, I know why the KKK attendance dropped. All of these men are dead. So it's that other thing.
Yeah,
I also
the
get
training of Konnan. We should have talked about the training as well.
Is that Konnan comes in and he's basically like, he's this big muscly boxer guy, and his training is basically like, let's kill him because he's different.
Well, they first thing, obviously, they fracture his hip. Keep in mind he's had hip replacement surgery, and gave him a concussion, and then he came back. Like, you know how crazy that is? Where it's like, hey, you want to join? You don't want to just join the post office? Here's 5 letter openers that are in your cock hole. Fucking come back if you really want it, bitch.
It's basically like, oh, you want to be a teacher? First off, survive this school shooting. You're like, what the fuck?
Fucking, we got these kids on Ritalin and Blow. We gave them a bunch of... Anyway, but you know how weird it is?
Teach and duck! Teach and duck!
Just, wrestlers are like, it's like they're all not comfortable with what they have to do this was 80s and 90s wrestlers. Just all had to prove something. Like, see, wrestling is cool. Fuck you if you fucking... It's not fake. Look, I just shot a guy. It's like...
Every wrestler acts like right before that the camera turned on for their heartfelt interview, a girl just went, wrestling? Like, that's how they all come across.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
They're like, actually, it's really hard. Like, you're like, yeah, I can tell. It looks pretty difficult. No, you don't even fucking know. And it's like, yeah, no, I can tell. It's so fucking bizarre.
If you were to truly, truly make the greatest heel in professional wrestling history, it would just be a pretty girl who's 19 on her phone going, shut up already. And then the entire arena would start weeping for the first hour, and the last 30 minutes they would plot to kill her, but then by then she's gone, and the last half hour is them just drawing up plans on how to get her.
I guarantee, by the way, that if you want to hear a pop louder than the Road Warrior pop, if that girl's just in the ring texting and it's a full 30 minutes on Raw of just her like, what?
Yeah.
And then
the greatest heel in wrestling history.
Yeah.
Someone brought their daughter.
Yeah. Someone brought their daughter, and one wrestler asked what she thought of the show thus far. If you want to know how that show
you guys have like bad skin and limps.
Well, it's hard to live like this.
Yeah. Why are your nipples all bigger than the nipples I've seen before?
Exactly.
How dare you?
Making fun of a guy in a singlet. Perfect.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Are your calves like underdeveloped or something? Do you ever like do exercises on that?
I'll fucking kill you.
Why is the waist of your trunk so high? Is that on purpose? Yeah. But I'll tell you how that heel would create the biggest boom in wrestling. All you need to do is have her on television for half an hour, and at the very end of it, just hear banana. Oh my God! Everyone in the arena would drown from the amount of cum that would shoot out of the fans' dicks in that moment. All of the fans need to calm down. We're drowning in cum. We're drowning in cum.
So, like 2 years into wrestling, Konnan debuts at Starrcade, teaming with Rey Mysterio Sr. This was WCW had this weird like country-based tag team tournament. So like Norman Smiley and Chris Adams were a British team. Obviously, Konnan, Rey Mysterio Sr. are the Mexican team, and that was part of the Pat O'Connor Memorial Tag Team Tournament. Sorry, Pat O'Connor Memorial, International Cup Tag Team Tournament. Well, that's a mouthful. And that was the winner got a date with Pat O'Connor's widow.
Yeah. And who won? Who won?
Steiner Brothers.
Steiner Brothers. They later murdered that widow with their dicks. She
We just
walked
ripped
in.
her a bit. We ripped her with our car.
We ripped
Ripped her with our car.
with four bullets to her fucking head. It's a rib.
I don't know why they got all mad about those kids in Columbine ripping their schoolmates.
I just wanted to let you know we just ripped that old woman by taking a shit in her tub.
Yeah. January 6th, we broke in and tried to rip Nancy Pelosi. Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the Steiner Brothers House of Ribs and also we're showbiz. Here's a rib. You ordered food. I just fucking showed you my dick.
Oh,
I'm Scott
man.
Steiner.
Oh, yeah. Just if you finish this 72-ounce porterhouse, then you don't have to show us your dick.
The trick's on you. I want to see your fucking dick anyway. Yeah.
Rick Steiner's kid is now the NXT champion, and I hope to God that he gets like a youth in wrestling like Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar. Just a series of crimes that child is going to be able to commit just because he's jacked, and Vince McMahon's going to be like, he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. Do you understand how weird that kid's text message exchange with it? Hey man, it's your Uncle Scott Steiner. I just wanted to know if there were any fans there that just fuck you and then you kill them.
You imagine the fact that like now that they have a link to the Steiners, because I guarantee the reason he's named Braun Breaker is because it's like why don't you use the Steiner name? It's like because of Google.
Yeah.
Because then they'll Google him and be like, wait a minute, this guy's dad took a shit in a widow's car and then she sat in the shit and then he just shot her in the head with a gun?
Yeah.
I ripped you. Dog face gremlin. And then Bill Watts was like, no, it's good. It's good.
I guarantee
People know they can't fuck with him.
Rick Steiner is now a real estate agent, and I just assume they walk. Oh, I'm the dog face gremlin. If you don't buy this house, I've already burned down your other house. This house is yours.
Oh yeah, I like the idea of Rick Steiner because part of a real estate agent, obviously, you have to prepare the house to be seen, and it's Rick Steiner just leaves a bunch of fucking
women.
it's just a bunch of porn, and then it's a bunch of porn and fucking Slim Jims not in the package, just on the ground. Get on all fours.
Yeah. Eat the meat. Eat the meat. It's dry meat. Whoever eats all the meat gets to pay me my commission, even though I'm not selling you the house.
We got a toilet to shit in and a toilet to jack off in. No pissing. That's for the lawn.
Yeah. No sluts. No sluts. No sluts. Who's that man chanting "no sluts" on the lawn of that 3-bedroom colonial? Oh, that's the real estate agent. He's very good. Oh my God, someone's bled in the pool. The entire pool is actually filled with my blood. I'm Scott Steiner, Rick's brother, and I just live here.
Yeah. If someone tries to roll up in a Volvo, he just doesn't let them in the house. Nope.
Yeah.
Can't buy it.
Yeah, exactly. If someone showed up in a Honda Civic and he just kept making what he thought were nuclear bomb noises and then refused to let them in the house. Sorry, not welcome.
I saw the first half of a movie I really liked, American History X.
Yeah.
Anyway.
By that I mean the second half. I only watched the second half. It was the best part. Not the ending though. Just the good parts, the wholesome parts in the prison. I like that. I'm Rick Steiner.
So this is good because Konnan begins, and so here's how I was always assumed Conan's career went. Started in Mexico, the whole thing we hear about where he's Mexican Hulk Hogan, moves on to WCW. Then I forgot about Max Moon. He comes into Max Moon. I thought Max Moon was like a quick sojourn, but really it's like he has like a oddly modern WWE experience where it's like they sign him, he's on the bench for a while they prepare his gimmick, they finally put him on TV, it sucks, and they get rid of him because he's the Comet Kid, and then they rename him Max Moon, and he's supposed to be from the future.
The one thing I want to sort of clarify, which I found confusing in the research, was the Comet Kid his idea? Because the research kind of implies he was like, I don't know, I'm like a future cool guy, and they were like, an alien from the future that's a robot. No, Okay.
No, Vince saw this thing, wanted someone for it, and was like, let's get this jacked dude because we want him to be like a high-flying superhero.
Oh yeah,
And
it's such
remember,
a
high-flying in the early 90s is he does some fucking arm drags.
yeah high flying in the like. Bear in mind, Too Cold Scorpio is considered a high flyer, and he does is just the.
Let's not talk shit about Too
1080
Cold
splash.
Scorpio.
I will
He
talk
does
so
fucking
much shit about Too Cold
Too Cold Scorpio shit still stands up.
No, but his only high flying moves were a drop kick or like that amazing 1080 splash. What was the splash he did?
He did a Phoenix splash. He did like a double moonsault into a leg drop.
Yeah, shooting star. Like he was at, like, but he
If
had
anything,
three.
him and Rob Van Dam should have been the
Here's
team.
my fucking clarification, you little.
ECW had the top three charismatic high flyers who would definitely break your jaw, which were Rob Van Dam, Too Cold Scorpio, and Sabu. The fact that we've agreed to this makes it pro wrestling, but the fact that I don't know the end part where you don't get hurt, you're just going to get your jaw broken, makes it pretty sweet for the audience.
Oh yeah. By the way, bear in mind all three of those men. How did they make it look so good? They're hurting you. They're trying to hurt you.
They're hurting you, and they're so high.
Oh, like they are me yesterday reading this research high, which I did read, and as I'm reading it over again, I'm having that weird sensation. I don't know if any of you have ever had, where you're like, I recognize all these words, but man, not a memory. Kind of remember reading it.
I am surprised the Too Cold Scorpio never had a match where it's like Joey Styles is like, oh my god, he's stopped and is just staring and thinking about existence. He's scared and he taps out. Too Cold Scorpio got too much. He just did too much.
Oh my God, Rob Van Dam has left the ring and he sat down and then he just remembered he's at a wrestling match and he's back in the match. Oh my
that's why they couldn't do countouts at ECW, because RVD would sometimes just forget he was in a wrestling match and start trying to sleep.
Yeah, Sabu tried to make a Monte Cristo sandwich during a triangle match with Sandman and Terry Funk.
Yeah, that's why he did hardcore matches. It was the only way he could always remember he was in a wrestling match. Instead, he just walked to the back and like, Sabu's going backstage with Terry Funk. He's picking up a phone. Yes, he is ordering a pizza. He's asking Terry what he wants on it. Terry's upset.
This Saturday night at the ECW Arena, Rob Van Dam's George Foreman grill finally arrives. Does he make a chicken parm panini first, or does he make a chicken pesto parm, which is my preferred parm as long as it's a preferred panini as long as it's on ciabatta bread? We'll find out this week at the ECW Arena. After that, Kimono Wanaleu is murdered by Big Dick Dudley in the George Foreman grill.
Rick Steiner buries a woman alive. No match.
Rick Steiner yells, Ken and Barbie killers ain't got nothing on me. Last goes into the locker room. ECW needs to take a couple of days off because we have 8 dead wrestlers.
So yeah, the weird thing is, basically he's in development in WWE for a year. He goes to CMLL. He is a masked wrestler for this time. And when he really gets over is when he loses his mask in 1991, and there's a young guy introduced as Konnan's brother who enters the ring crying, covers Konnan's face with his hands after Konnan removes his mask, and then Konnan states this is when he got really super over. And then he's loves money, so in January of 92, this is the great thing about Konnan, is that he's a varied enough act and a charismatic enough performer that he can essentially use the world like it's a territory in the early 90s. Think about it. This guy's been wrestling for like 4 years. He's been in Mexico and both major U.S. promotions already, and he's already been unmasked in Mexico, which he says got him over huge.
It's wild.
And you know a guy's good when a guy can become a professional wrestler and he doesn't know anyone, like his family aren't in wrestling, because that's one of the unspoken things about wrestling is it's like it's like the mob. You have to be kind of
like anything.
Yeah, and now it's different because everyone was always grandfathered in because they were worried people would tell the secrets of wrestling, and now you don't have to worry about that. So
no, it's more just like this is just really weird to learn. So why would you learn it? And they're like, because I don't have anywhere else to go.
Or you learn it for $700 and then that turns out that guy just took $700 for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like most things, to be real.
What is really crazy about Konnan, by the way, also is that like he's so big in Mexico, all of this sort of stuff, but he's again one of those guys that basically his career has this weird kind of like fork in the road, which is Eric Bischoff taking control of WCW. Because without Eric Bischoff taking control of WCW, Eric Bischoff is just a wrestling guy with a subtle business mind, which is, hey, we need to compete against WWE. WWE is an entire everything unto itself. If we use the combined powers of all the international wrestling consortiums and also bring in different styles of wrestling, my product will be different, which it leads to working relationships with, I think, first New Japan and also with CMLL and AAA, which leads to When Worlds Collide, this pay-per-view, which I remember them advertising, and they made the no one talks about this, but WCW in the early and mid 90s could really sell a wrestling pay-per-view to people with no context. Like they would call it a cool name for kids. They would animate it in such a way where you're like, what the fuck? Like they made it seem like Konnan, the Mexican heavyweight champion. Like they really fucking sold who's going on. It's where we get Mike Tenay. It's where we get Konnan was this super successful pay-per-view, which you, by the way, can't find on the network. I didn't really look for it anywhere else, but I would love to see it. And it launches basically the career of all those luchadors in WCW. And Eric Bischoff very cleverly goes, how do I stand out from WWF? I know, I'll have a bunch of the most insanely good, high-flying, amazing, high-impact wrestling ever, and wrestling has never recovered from that. Now, Kevin Sullivan claims he thought of it because he's like, I always think of wrestling like it's the circus and they need to get the acrobats. But I'm inclined to believe it was both of them, and just one of them came up with the idea, and the other one was like my idea, because they're both.
It doesn't seem like that hard of an idea to be like.
It doesn't until you realize it took them so long to figure this out. Like they were like it basically what it was like, but wrestling involves promos, not this wrestling. Okay, like that's the one thing is the cruiserweight division outside of Eddie Guerrero, they're just like no promos because they don't speak English for the most part.
It's also 3 hours.
Yeah.
Hey, there's 3 hours. Why don't we get some luchadors? Sure.
At the beginning, they were just on Nitro. Like Nitro Nitro was 1 hour at this point. Nitro didn't even exist at this point. Like the luchadors were on Saturday night. Like they were brought in slowly and then just became such a part of the product because they did the thing that American wrestling never does, but you absolutely need to do and makes it so much more enjoyable to watch, which is just give every match a storyline and a purpose always. These people are cruiserweights chasing after the cruiserweight title. They don't care or want the world title. That's not the weight division they are
in.
That's not the weight division they're in. Like this.
Yeah, and also it's a natural progression for a Southern wrestling company to also include Mexico because they're close.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's honestly, it's weird. Like everything in wrestling, it's weird that they took them this long to notice Latin people.
I guarantee. And by the way,
Latin guys.
And Vince McMahon yet to notice. Vince McMahon. Bear in mind, Vince McMahon's the biggest push he's ever made of a Latin star was fucking Billy engaged to Paige, kidnapped the girl, definitely going to jail.
Del Rio.
Alberto Del Rio. Like Rey Mysterio has been there the whole fucking time, and they're just like, no, too short.
They gave Rey the title.
We're not. No.
Gave Eddie the title too.
Fuck up. Yeah, they gave Eddie the title. Pardon me. Eddie was pushed perfectly. What a fun title run. God, I love Eddie Guerrero. God, I hate. I hated what they did with Rey Mysterio as the champion, and I loathe Alberto Del Rio.
I mean, he's a loathable guy. Pardon me.
Bless you.
So we'll talk quickly about some dumb things, and then we'll get back on track here. And
we should probably take a break. Let's take a break right now, and then the back half of this episode, all Konnan, all the fucking time.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. So we'll get back in 2 seconds. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, the worlds have collided. And by worlds, we mean that was invented by a Turner Broadcasting executive who was like, wait a minute, we're hiring more than one Latino person? The worlds are colliding.
Worlds
And they
do
were like,
collide.
that's right. They are colliding. So Konnan comes into WCW. By the way, this will be part 1 of part 2. We're going to talk about NWO
We decided that.
Konnan and TNA Konnan next week. Right now, we are going to focus on my favorite, the brief spell of Konnan coming in still wearing his Mexican wrestling garb, overtly splashy robes,
Also,
intensely gorgeous trunks.
we need to talk about something to do with the WWE Conan run, which is he's
And
having
Max
so much
Moon
success in Mexico, so he stops being Max Moon. And
Basically,
I think
it's
yeah.
the greatest reason to stop being Max Moon, because he's like, I'm being very taken seriously as just a legitimate wrestler who wears a fun cape and some fun, like, fabric created trunks. Or I could come up here to the WWF where I shoot lasers and my theme music is I
could be respected and people could think I'm cool and I make a bunch of money, which has more lasting power, or I could just make a bunch right now and then you guys are like, wait a minute, fuck you. And he's not dumb too, because he's like, he sees how Vince McMahon treats all, like, because that's the famous thing about Shotgun Saturday Night, right? Is he hired a bunch of luchadors and just wanted them all to unmask on the first episode with no build, and they were like, no.
Yeah. Oh my God. Him trying to make the light heavyweight division. I'm surprised that wrestling podcasting hasn't gone deep diving on how insane that is. He's like, get me Jerry Lynn, break his kneecaps. He's the light heavyweight champion.
But this is what I want to say is that he stops being Max Moon, but they still have Max Moon wrestle. Like, Max Moon wrestles on the first episode of Raw against Shawn Michaels, but that is Paul Diamond.
Yeah, they just... Oh, it's the best. They
yeah,
literally
which he also
like,
did with Doink, which kind of plays into everyone's like, oh, how did Vince McMahon think he could just get away with fake Diesel and fake Razor? It's like he had done this before. He's
done this a bunch
gimmick.
of times. The only difference is the other times they were under a mask or they
Yeah.
weren't literally some of the most recognizable people in wrestling.
Yeah.
Which
Two
again
world
is
champions.
why I love Vince McMahon. He's like, yeah, I can be on the Olympic team. I have thrown a hammer at my wife. I'll go in as a hammer tosser. It's like, what?
Yeah, just because you can promote doesn't mean you can write. Okay, everybody. But while he's in AAA, he has a 2 out of 3 falls match with Jake the Snake Roberts, and Jake the Snake Roberts' heater is the Warlord, and my God, this is
I would give
prime
all the
time
money I have in my bank account right now to just hear the stories of, from the Warlord's perspective, getting Jake the Snake Roberts out of America into Mexico, and then out of Mexico back into America. Because I guarantee, I'm not even going to speculate. All I know is at some point in the telling of the story, this is the noise the Warlord makes. Like, there's just no way that Konnan was also a help. Like, I guarantee in the ring, one of the falls was Konnan was like, Jake, look, crack. And Jake was like, oh.
Oh yeah, this is Jake the Snake Roberts. Like,
This is Jake the Snake
fat.
full wrestler reviewed mode. I am smoking. I am eating carbs. Who has stimulants I can take?
Yeah, he takes a shit in a garbage can in the ring and eats it. That's one of the falls, is that he can't digest his own shit.
Yeah. And actually, Konnan wins by just pointing out to Jake that he hasn't. It's Easter and he doesn't even know one of his grandkids' names, and Jake just starts crying and then needs a cigarette.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's really slowing it down. No, he's asleep and he thinks he's genuinely awake.
Yeah. I guarantee Jake the Snake Roberts is the kind of guy that will think it's really cool that so many people put packs of cigarettes in his coffin, even though that's definitely what's killed him.
So in 96, he becomes AAA's booker, and this is pretty much like...
This is wild. This is the thing that's so crazy, because it doesn't feel like this Konnan is the same Konnan now. Like, I edited a bunch of clips for social media for the Wrestler Review of Konnan, and one of them is him and when he's managing LAX for Impact Wrestling when they're like on tour somewhere with Scott D'Amore. And the interview is two nice wrestlers being interviewed by a backstage person for this like fun sort of promo shoot interview. And then they throw it to Konnan, and they're literally like, so what are you going to do about Eddie Kingston? And then Conan's literally like, did you guys see the Childish Gambino video? I am wanting pizza. And they were like, Conan, can you focus at all? And he's just like, I am focusing. I thought we were talking about Childish Gambino and pizza. And they're like, okay. Like it's not the saddest slide, but it's the weirdest and kind of, to me, the funniest.
Well, it's like at that point he doesn't need the money.
I mean, is that what it is?
Yeah.
That makes me so much happier if this is all just because he doesn't need the money. Like he just is like, I just like hanging out with this Disco Inferno.
Like, not to be a that's so that's the ultimate curse, is that no matter how much money you make, you still have to hang out with the Disco Inferno.
Yeah, Don Callis will have your phone number until you're dead, K-Dog, and there's just nothing you can do about it.
He comes into ECW and feuds with the Sandman, which is very funny.
Oh my God, this is so wild too, because imagine you go from, like, you are literally the Hulk Hogan of Mexico. All of your friends, you're being brought into American companies. The company that you're going into, welcome to Philadelphia. All of the white people in the company look racist, but they don't have time for hate. They are too busy being technically dead from drug abuse.
Yeah. They all look like they wear pants that require belts, but those belts cause them to chafe on their aprons, so they don't wear the belts.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to ECW, where the phrase "whose underwear is this" is not something you want to answer because it's going in your mouth. What? Why? I don't know.
Live on the ECW arena, I can't afford underwear, so I try on Tommy Dreamers.
Welcome to the ECW arena. This is an entire company that's based off of the fact that Paul Heyman's parents had enough money to support him owning a company.
Yeah, he did a couple squash matches and then quickly goes out, but obviously since he is the booker of AAA, this is why he gets a lot of the credit for basically helping the luchadors become what they were, is because he takes them into ECW, and then obviously Eric Bischoff watches ECW, discovers them, and they go into WCW. John?
That is not what happened. Eric Bischoff just had the idea for luchadors and then willed them into existence.
Oh, that's true, actually.
That is what happened, actually. I don't know if you know that, but everyone knows that that's the truth.
Eric Bischoff invented luchador masks and everyone else, and then created a backlog to make it look like luchadors had been invented before Eric Bischoff thought of them, but they didn't. He thought of them.
Yeah, so stop fucking around.
Yeah, also, Eric Bischoff took one piece of bread and folded it over a piece of meat and then called it a burrito, and then same thing.
Yeah. Burrito actually means Eric Bischoff sandwich in Spanish.
Yeah, Eric Bischoff sandwich. It means it's a bunch of, and then also he's the first guy to ever have worn shoes. Everyone else was just walking around.
That's true.
Really fucking their feet up.
He also invented leather jackets and also being so fucking cool. Yeah. So basically, Konnan comes into WCW in such a he's in ECW. He comes into the great dump of making ECW WCW not shit in 1996. Now he's originally comes in because he met Nancy Sullivan. Where she traveled to Tijuana attempting to become Psychosis's valet. Basically, this was the time where Kevin and Nancy Sullivan just kind of left mainstream wrestling and just darted around the independents and internationals. And it was kind of just Kevin Sullivan kind of just taking a break before going back and getting the book of WCW. One of the key parts of WCW's success, which no one talks about, is that their booker is one of the best bookers of the territories, Kevin Sullivan, who is the only wrestler ever who, during a super hot period for the company, retires so he can focus only on booking the company. That's the craziest thing. Never forget that about Kevin Sullivan. Only time I've ever seen a wrestler being like, "Oh, my work backstage is making it so I can't really focus on being on the in ring." Every other booker in that position was like, "Well, better put myself in the main event. That's the only way to protect my spot."
He also
Kevin
stuck
Sullivan
out like a
retires.
fucking sore thumb on, because it's like, who's going to win, Kevin Sullivan or Chris Benoit? And then you're like, clearly Chris Benoit should win. Kevin Sullivan wore trunks without knee pads, and it was like, here's a guy who did biceps in the 80s.
He looked like a little baby. He looked like a little baby.
He did. He looked like he was wearing a diaper, and he had the
because he
thinnest,
has
shitty legs.
He also has the smallest boots, and for some reason, he looked like your friend's dad's shitty brother trying to go for a swim, but for some reason he's wearing shoes. Like, I completely agree with you, but again, I restate. Any other booker would have been like, actually those negatives are positives. I am the champion. And it's like, what? No. And that's the WCW Konnan comes into is at the time is the premier good company. Like they are, and by that I just mean they're doing some things logically, not everything. They still have the Dungeon of Doom, but like this is Ric Flair, Macho Man, Randy Savage feud time. The in-ring work rate is very exciting. The loose cannon gimmick is getting revved up by Brian Pillman. Like this is a very interesting time in wrestling. Konnan comes in. Welcome to Konnan. He's also going back and forth from Mexico, still wrestling for AAA at this point. I get very confused. But I love pre-Dungeon of Doom Konnan because he comes in.
Well, you remember what Bischoff did was he cut out house shows. So this is still a time where Konnan can fulfill a full-time schedule in Mexico because he has the time. All he does is TV once or twice a week max, and he can just fly back and forth Atlanta to Mexico.
Such a great point. I didn't even think of that. Yes, of course, that's how they all did it.
And Konnan, same thing with TNA. The reason he's like, oh, why is Konnan in TNA? It's like, well, because we're so North American centric in our thinking, you don't think like this guy's making most of his money in Mexico, which is why for interviews with Impact Wrestling, he can just be like, actually, thanks for asking. I have been eating more salads lately, but I put beans in there to get extra protein. I asked you about guiding LAX to the tag titles. Yeah, okay. But I'm going to talk about the beans because the check is in the mail and I got to be on a flight soon. So I can not talk. Do you want me to not talk? Because I could do that.
Yeah, here's a couple of things you don't know about old Konnan. Thing 1, I am not paying attention. Thing 2, who are you?
Yeah. I actually invented keto when my wife left me. I just ate a bunch of cold cuts over the sink and I got fucking jacked. So
do you know who Konnan is? This is who. Did you ever work with? I can't remember this comedian's name. He was a Canadian comedian who came into it from jazz, and his wife
Mike Nemiroff.
It was Mike Nemiroff. Mike Nemiroff is the Konnan of Canadian comedy. Just a guy who's got money
dope
from
life.
Some other means. Still kind of weird about it. I remember Mike Nemiroff. We drove by his house and he went, "Don't be weird about it," but I live right there. And I was sick. This is a sad state of affairs in Toronto real estate where you're pointing out just a reasonable house in the annex. And I was like, whoa, walking distance from Bathurst subway station? I didn't realize I was about to drive to Merlin, Ontario with a king.
Yeah, Merlin, Ontario is a real place, too. That's good stuff.
By the way, only place I've ever seen this, sign as you're driving into the town, no, we do not have a Tim Hortons.
That's good stuff. Merlin, Ontario, yeah, why don't you paint yourself a drink? Cool.
No, it's even weirder? 100% had a Tim Hortons. There was a Tim Hortons like a minute past that
Not
sign.
Technically in Merlin, though.
I bet you that's what it was.
Ooh, during his reign... Konnan. Oh, I should mention what you said about the Kevin Sullivan thing. When Konnan became the booker at AAA, first thing he did was give himself the title. So
of course, yeah. If Kevin Sullivan had been like any other booker, do you understand who the third man in the NWO would have been? Welcome to Kevin Sullivan.
Hey, yeah, I'm from Boston. I'm in the NWO. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, no.
How about this? Wrestling, you can beat me, but who could eat more brats?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Maybe Hulk Hogan's a better choice, but can he name every starting lineup of the Boston Red Sox from the year 1976 only?
Yeah. Also, Konnan, the way he won that AAA title was he pinned Perro Aguayo. It was a triple threat match. Perro Aguayo and his wife. His wife decided to fuck Konnan. Perro Aguayo passed out from shame. He fucked her on top of her, pinned both people. That's how it happened. That's how he wrote it in.
How about this? Then she decides to suck me off so much that she loves it. And
then after that, someone gives me a Monte Cristo sandwich and just shakes my hand.
You guys are sleeping at the ring, and I slow eat it with the microphone real close to my mouth so everyone can hear me chewing.
All the fans have an opportunity to come in the ring and lick the spot where some sauce may have dropped. I will not intentionally drop any sauce. This is what I'm talking about. It's a perfect juxtaposition. Like Kevin Sullivan, this is the craziest thing about wrestling. Do you want to know how you make a wrestling company successful? Just have the guy who's in charge of all creative decisions not be a clinically diagnosed super narcissist, just a regular narcissist. Your company will make hundreds of millions of dollars.
Or just have the guy who writes it also not be the star.
Yeah, next to impossible. That
Every wrestler,
rather be dead.
every wrestling company is like the evolution of the Rambo movies, where the first one's fucking dope, and then the second one you're like, okay,
What are you
I
talking
see
about?
what's
No.
going here. And
Wrestling
then
is like
by
the
end
evolution of
it,
the Rambo companies. Every change they make is appropriate and
And
makes
good.
sense.
I just
Yeah.
mean by the end of it, it's a 60-year-old man easily beating up like 20-year-olds.
Oh
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like if you just watch it from that perspective, where it's like, wow, the first Rambo's really nuanced. Obviously the next ones in the 80s are dope, and then by the time it gets to like the 2000s Rambos, you're like, okay, I mean, this 60-year-old man would not kill all these people, but that's all wrestling. This is like
Do
Triple
you
H.
know how
Yep.
historically inaccurate
Please say what Rambo is.
Rambo 3 turned out to be? Because in Rambo 3, one man and his older friend conquer Afghanistan. Granted, they beat the Russian army and not the Afghanistan army, but that is the plot of that movie. By the way, the first 3 Rocky movies are the perfect allegory for the 80s. Starts off with trying to reckon with all that America has done in the world to understand that. Ends with the song "You're My Brother," while they murder literally 1,000 trained military soldiers by himself with a knife. God
You mean Rambo.
bless. Yeah, Rambo.
Yeah, you said Rocky, so.
Sorry. No, imagine how much better that would have been.
Sorry. Yeah, Rocky, at the end of Rocky, he's like, how about this? I'm going to murder everyone. That was my Stallone.
If Rocky 3 was just Rambo 3, but with Rocky, that would be the greatest movie ever.
How about this? We'll switch them.
No,
Rambo is the heavyweight title, and Rocky has to go to Vietnam.
I'm the world champion, and the only thing I'm going to do is go to Vietnam and be some PFWs. Adrian! Yeah, Adrian.
So did you know this? Konnan, so how about this? Because we're already about an hour in here. Let's stop before his NWO run, and then we'll pick it up next week starting in
before he joins
NWO.
the Dungeon of Doom. By the way, fun fact about next week, you're going to learn about how Konnan joins the Dungeon of Doom, and they were like, oh, wait, we just debuted the NWO? This is no longer an organization of occultists. It's a street gang. Are you changing the members? No.
And how does Kevin Sullivan dress? This promo's on YouTube. I don't know if you're going to post it, but how does Kevin Sullivan dress as the leader of a street gang? How does he dress?
I, of course, have it already edited and will be posted. It will have been posted today.
He dresses, don't look at the promo, he literally dresses like John Travolta does in Staying Alive, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever. He wears a sweatband and a half shirt. And
what's
I'll
the
tell you
half shirt
this,
up? This is my favorite time in wrestling, which is we
it
get
just
a lot
says
of
suck.
It's a Monday Night Nitro shirt that he's clearly cut the collar off, the sleeves of, and it's a little belly top, and he looks like one of the goons in the movie Roadhouse. It is awesome.
Yeah, he looks like a girl in every porn I've seen in a locker room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know the men's locker room. I'm Kevin Sullivan. I book you to fuck me up my face.
Up my face. Dylan, what's the best part of Konnan in this time period? I'm going to say one of the most meteoric rises in wrestling / knows where he's valued. He could have stayed in the WWF and his rest of his career would have been fucked, but he was like, nah, I ain't a bitch, so I ain't going to be where bitches are. Bye-bye.
Yeah, this is truly, the first half is truly, you don't really realize it, because if we stop before the Dungeon of Doom, then it's like, this is Luchador Konnan. Up until 96, this is Luchador Konnan, where he has a mask, he loses the mask, gains popularity because he is jacked. I think the best thing is that he stops being Max Moon and has faith in his own. Like, he basically makes it so he's the comic kid, not Max Moon. So he leaves, and that's a great idea. Just have faith in your own talent. Don't make decisions when it comes to your career from a place of weakness. Do it from a place of strength, and that's exactly what Konnan did. He believed in himself, and you know what? He ended up achieving. It does help that WCW had a money gun that they were just shooting willy-nilly, and he also could just go to AAA, make a ton of money. He probably already had the connection to ECW. Like, there's 3 legitimate places to make money, and ECW... not making a lot of money, but it is a showcase. It's like a showcase. It's really if NXT was just its own promotion, or
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. What do you say is the worst part about Conan? Here's mine. I guarantee his
Tassels.
Interesting. I'm going to say his chest hair, I guarantee, was very smelly.
Those tassels, man. You see him in the Jake the Snake match, and he's just like, he's fucking jacked, and he looks like fucking Kurt Angle when Kurt Angle first entered wrestling and was just on all the juice in the world. And that
Oh,
dope
yeah.
ass Sigma.
Great point.
But he has to abandon those for sure because he just kind of looks like a Mexican Steiner brother, and then he just is a dude who looks jacked with a bunch of tassels. And it's like, I remember watching Conan in '96, like watching those old matches made all these memories flood back where I literally thought this guy would be cool if he didn't look like just looked like someone stapled a bunch of like stuff to a wall.
Yeah, that's very funny. Yeah, it's basically like, give me the Ultimate Warrior, more fabric, less care.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you know, you put them around the biceps so your biceps look good. Let's just attach a bunch to your knees.
Yeah. Here's what we're gonna do. First up, I don't really know,
Yeah.
Conan.
You look like a present someone tried to open quickly.
Can you look like a hippie's mom? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I got wasted. I made pants.
That's what it looks like.
Have you thought about just throwing up in my own ass? What are you
And this
talking
wasn't
about?
in the research, but this is in Bret Hart's own autobiography. Maybe one of the better things is he teaches the sharpshooter to Bret Hart in the early 90s.
This is the craziest thing, which is he teaches the sharpshooter to Bret Hart in the early 90s, giving Bret the perfect excuse for not clearly having just stolen it from Sting.
Yes, which, whatever, and then years later, I guarantee, you know what would be an amazing podcast that I wish we had a lot of money? Would be Bret Hart and Konnan doing a podcast, and we just call it Two Joints In, and they can only start when they're two whole
Oh my
joints
god,
in.
I kind of want to do that. How much? Oh god, it would be such a fucking asshole, dick, fuck.
It would be great.
ass.
You have to give one of them indica, one of them sativa, and you don't tell which one is which until you've already recorded, and then they have to talk about a comp. They have to talk about what they would like in a garden or something.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly
from
it.
that, I guarantee within 5 minutes, the discussion would end with
cheating on your wife. Cheating on your wife. Within 30 minutes of that podcast, it would go from like
that would be cool if they both interviewed a wrestler, and then it was like Roman Reigns, and then 5 minutes later they're just asking Roman Reigns if he does cheat on his wife, and if so, why not? If not, why
No.
not?
First of all, that's way too much of a personal question. It would simply just be, hey,
Why
Roman
don't you
Reigns, do wanna
cheat
hear about-
featuring weed with Konnan and Bret
Exactly.
Hart?
Also, why don't you explain to me why you don't let me cheat on my wife with your wife? That's what I guarantee he wants to do. Like, that's what all of it is.
Yeah. Also, sister podcast, Patreon only. What if our wives made out? Featuring Konnan and Bret Hart. This is presumptuous, by the way. I don't know if Conan's married nor if he cheats.
I don't know if Conan's married. If he is, he's definitely cheated on his wife.
He seems bro-y enough to have cheated.
Yeah,
No
he
ch-
seems like the
You
kind
can
of
write
guy
this on
that'd
my
be like-
gravestone. Champions cheat.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why Dylan very, very much faithful to his wife.
Yeah, not a champion. John, when is the Untitled Twitch stream?
Fucking Sunday to fucking Thursday at fucking 2 p.m. Pacific. Bitches, go check that out. Listen to my stand-up comedy broadcast. Please, if you can, subscribe to SiriusXM. It is the financial fucking windfall that's keeping Dylan and I alive while the pandemic continues to turn off stand-up comedy just in the moment where you think, maybe I will recover. No,
Yeah.
go fuck
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Go to Patreon. We have a bunch of new shit episodes on the Mountie. There's a chatting episode that's coming out next week. I don't know. We'll do a bunch of other shit because Canada's in lockdown, which means, baby, I got nothing but a wall and time. So thank you very much for donating.
Dylan will be relaunching Remarkable Teams, but he'll now be talking
Yeah,
about gangbangs and the history of gangbangs.
Yeah, I'll just be reviewing porns I like because I don't
Oh
have
my
time for the
God.
research.
Dylan, why the fuck are we not doing the porno review and making $1 billion? Do you understand that
Porno
our
review.
audience would not change? They would just be much bigger.
We don't interview porn stars. We just fucking.
We review their loads. Welcome to the load review.
We review male porn stars, much like Conan's talk show. They don't get to talk. We just talk about how we would have done it better. I'd have fucked her better.
I would have fucked her, and then I would have also asked where they purchased that sofa. I need a new sofa.
Yeah, I also would have. That's one of my. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard a rumor that all the pornos happen in Airbnbs, which is perfect.
I mean, that is true. Also, all of the pornos, if they're filmed in Los Angeles, happen in one neighborhood. And I was I one time proposed a hike to a friend, and they were like, "Nah, you can't go there weekdays because they're always just shooting porn in the woods."
That's literally a 13-year-old's dream. They want to find magazines in the woods, but if someone was actually shooting porn,
he'd be like, whoa! What's even better is there's a Starbucks by where all the porn offices are, and you can really tell if your friend's a creep if they suggest to go to that Starbucks, because
I'm going to that Starbucks now.
It's around nothing. Like, it's so inconvenient to get to, and there were two people that you wouldn't be surprised were way into porn who were like, let's meet at this Starbucks. I like it. And it was only like months later when someone was like, oh man, there's the porno Starbucks. I was like, wait, what? And they explained. I was like, oh, cool. I understand now.
What was it? Oh, at Dylan Gott on Twitter and Instagram, at the John Hastings, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok as well. Yeah, we're on TikTok. Me and John are posting stand-up clips all the time on TikTok. If you want to go there, follow us on every medium. You don't have to go on your phone that much. Just follow us. The number helps a bit. Thank you so much for listening, guys. We'll be back next week with Konnan from the Dungeon of Doom. Until now, when he has no hips.
Konnan Part 2. See you then. Fuck you.